Hello, my name is Eric Braun, and over the past decade, me and my team have funded over $1 billion in loan volume, all from referral. First off, I hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Hope it was spent, with friends and family. You enjoyed some good food, and I also hope that you've been enjoying this series so far. So this is video number 2 of the Grow and Solidify series. In this series, I give you guys one grow strategy, which is how to get new referral partners, and one solidify strategy, which is how to stay top of mind with your existing referral partners. If you're watching this, you probably already understand the importance of referral partners, but just to touch on that quickly, if you look at, a majority of the top producers in this business, if you look at maybe the top producer in your office or the top producer in your company, and I'm sure if you zoom out and you look at all the top producers in the industry as a whole, a majority of their business comes from referral partners. So that's the whole premise of this video series, is to really give you guys the strategies that we've used over the years on how to get new referral partners and keep your existing ones. Because it's great to go and get new relationships, but if you can't keep your existing ones, or if, it's hard to scale, right? So it's easy to have 2 or 3 referral partners, but as soon as you get past a certain level, the game almost becomes keeping your existing ones. So that's why this series is Grow and Solidify. Now, it's important to mention, I'm going to go over a lot of different strategies in this video series. I just want to remind everybody, it only takes 3. If you look at any top producer, they can probably attribute their success to maybe 2 or 3 or maybe 4 different strategies. And they do those strategies very well over a consistent amount of time. So make sure that you're not watching this series and getting down on yourself about all these things that you have to do, because then you'll never execute on any of them. So I just want to remind everybody, watch the series, pick a few that you really like, pick a few that match you, pick a few that you enjoy doing so that you can do them on a consistent basis, and it doesn't take everything, right? So let's jump right into the first grow strategy, or the grow strategy of this video. This is another tried and true. I'm getting the easy ones done first. So the last grow strategy was social media. This is another tried and true method, and that's networking events. Now, going to networking events, it's not a secret that could be a way that you can meet new people, right? But we're going to go a little bit deeper than just tell you should go to networking events, like a lot of loan officers are told. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is ask yourself when, okay? This is a common theme that I kind of use throughout my business in general, and when I'm mentoring our originators, is the concept of make sure if you're going to do something, make sure you know when you're going to do it and put it on your calendar, okay? So if you're not a calendar person, this is your sign to become a calendar person. I was never a calendar person until maybe like 7 years ago, when somebody looked at me. I'll always remember this. It's my buddy. He was in the passenger seat. I was driving. We were having a conversation, and he was like, "Oh, I'll send you a calendar invite." And I kind of looked at him like, "What do you mean you'll send me a calendar invite?" And he's like, "What do you mean you don't use a calendar?" Like, he couldn't fathom it. And now I'm that friend to a lot of people. But the concept that I was talking about is, if you're going to pick social media as your growth strategy, or networking events as your growth strategy, make sure there's a time that you are doing that on a regular basis in your calendar. Now, with networking events, this is a kind of time-sensitive thing. You can only go to networking events when they're happening, right? But what you can do to make sure that you're doing this strategy on a consistent basis and you're getting the most out of it, is you can schedule a time that you're actually going to look for networking events. So what I've told a lot of our loan originators is, if you want to go to 1 networking event a week or 2 networking events a month, make sure that you're allotting time in your calendar to figure out what networking event you're going to be going to hit your goal, right? So let's say it's twice a month. Maybe I have in my calendar on a weekly basis 30 minutes to kind of scour the internet and figure out what's the networking event that I'm going to next week, or what networking events are out there. Doing this, putting it in your calendar, holds you to the activity, which is finding it, and then obviously you still need to remember to go and show up. A tool that you can use for this is social media, right? You can kind of scroll through, see what's going on, or maybe you're scrolling through social media on your own time and you see a networking event, maybe you screenshot it, send yourself an email and say, I gotta figure out if I'm going to this, right? Or you decide right on the spot that you're going and you register and you put it in your calendar. But you could also use a tool or Eventbrite, which is another like online platform for events. And you can simply type into Eventbrite real estate networking event, and it will pull up all of the real estate networking events in your area with the criteria that you specify. So I tell people, all right, if you want to go to one networking event a week, on Monday at 2 o'clock, for instance, maybe you look on Eventbrite and pick that either that week or the next week's networking event. So you make sure that you're staying to it. So always ask yourself when. And that's just a general concept that I've applied to my business regardless of the strategy. When am I doing what, right? And then for this strategy, you're going to ask yourself which ones. Because we don't want to spend our time at networking events that might not be fruitful to us. So the obvious, for us in our business, the types of events that you're going to get a lot out of is the real estate specific ones. But maybe you can go to networking events that are catered towards attorneys or financial advisors or anything in between, really. So just kind of think about which ones after you figure out when, and this way you can try and make your time as useful as possible. Now, this is all pre-event, right? So let's talk about what you're going to do at the event, which I think is where the real magic sauce is. Now, I'm not going to go into detail of the art of conversation or the art of networking, because that could be a series in itself. But I do think some quick pointers for you guys on what to do when you get there is going to be useful to get the most out of this video. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, and maybe this happens actually before, is take a look at and try to figure out who's going. And another pro tip is maybe you take the time to shoot out some texts to some realtors or referral partners that you're trying to build relationships with and invite them to that networking event to kind of double down on the time that you're going to be there. It's a very easy thing to touch base with them on. Hey, just wanted to extend the invitation. I'll be there. You should come. And you could also kind of use that as a solidify strategy, not only a grow strategy, to solidify your existing relationships. Because what's a better way to solidify existing relationships than having a good time with them, a night out, getting some food, some drink, etc. But figure out who's going. Maybe send some invitations to make sure that you're leveraging that time as much as possible. But once you're there, the one thing that I think I'm going to tell you guys not to do two things. Okay, number one is don't drink. And I hate to be a party pooper, and I know that's easy for me because I happen to not drink, but I will tell you that you're going to get more out of networking events if you don't drink, or maybe you just have one, right? Because the risk of something bad happening, as you may know, goes up when you have a drink, plus it just gets you off your game. And that's not why you're there. It's not, yes, you should have a good time in your business, and I'm all about having fun. But I think too often people will go to networking events and maybe have one too many, and they won't get as much as they could have out of that. And that may be obvious to you, but it's definitely worth mentioning. The next thing that I'm going to tell you not to do is speak to the people that you already know. This is a very easy thing to fall into because it's nice and comfortable, and it's easy to see a friend across the bar and spend the whole night with that person and not meet anybody new. The whole premise of you going to the event is to network and meet new people. So don't drink, Don't speak to the people that you already know the whole entire time. I'm not saying you avoid them like the plague, but make sure that you're going there and you're meeting new people, and that is your intention. What you should do is and this is what I've done over the years, is kind of take a look at the crowd and somewhat identify who you're gonna, who you want to kind of build a relationship with. If you do see somebody that's a familiar face, maybe you've done business with them before, but they're not a referral partner, that you don't have a strong relationship with them, I would start with those people. Always start with warm. Now, what to say? I think a lot of people will get hung up on this part, and this is what kind of makes networking maybe awkward or something that you don't enjoy, is the whole small talk kind of part of it, and it is part of it. So maybe if that's something that you really, really don't like, maybe this strategy isn't something that you commit to on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, but definitely incorporating some sort of networking events is going to help you. But let's talk about let's talk about tips on what to say. So start with the warm people because they'll be easier to talk to. And I always like to start with, how long have you been in the business? Nice, easy questions. Nothing crazy. It's going to be. It's not going to be awkward to ask those questions. It's not going to be completely out of the blue because it's, within context. They're there at a real estate networking event. You asking them how long you've been in the business is a perfectly, reasonable question to ask them. Where did you grow up? Where are you from originally? Maybe you touch on some personal stuff outside of real estate. I would also ask, how long have you been with your brokerage? Do you love it? How'd you get into the business? What are you seeing right now out there in the market? I know that one's, a little. I think all of these questions, the purpose of them is to open the door or leave openings for you to either get to know that person better or add value to their business, right? So when we talk about, how, what do you see in the market, their response could be simply, oh, there's not enough inventory. And you can talk about how you as an originator help that problem and provide and add value or provide a solution for that problem. Now, what you don't want to do, you should be looking for these openings to either, get to know them as a person, figure out where they're from, what they like. Oh, there's a game on. Oh, are you a Yankees fan? Are you a Mets fan? Whatever. You have to be interested in people, and this goes for sales in general. This strategy in particular, if you're not that into people, it's going to be tough for you. But for a lot of you, it's going to come natural, and that's why I wanted to cover it, because I know a lot of our originators, this is one of the most fruitful strategies, is just going to networking events. But you have to be interested in people, because then this is all going to become natural to you in the conversation. But when they respond with, there's not enough inventory, it's an opportunity to provide a solution for a problem. What you don't want to do is get into like a pitch, right? You don't want to be pitching somebody at a networking event with noise. They can't really hear you well. You're in their ear, they're in yours. It's not going to lead to the best results. What you want to do with all of these strategies, whether it's social media, taking the online, offline, like we talked about last video, or it's networking events, or it's any of the strategies that we're going to be talking about in further videos, is you want the opportunity of a one-on-one. And that's where the pitch is going to happen. So at the networking events, you should be looking at this like a net, right? And this is the top of the funnel. This is not where you convert them to a referral partner. So I just want to make it clear that you shouldn't be pitching people at the networking event. What you should be doing is trying to warm up that relationship and be setting up a touch base down the line. So another common thing that I think a lot of people do at networking events is they'll have all these conversations. They'll get business cards. They'll meet people. And then nothing comes from it. And that's because there's no follow-up. And there's an art to this, right? And it's not just, taking their business cards and putting them on an email drip, right? Although that could be definitely part of it, but you should take time to map out your follow-up plan and be intentional about it. Maybe, when you're on the way to that networking event, you schedule a time in your calendar the next day to follow up with the people that you're going to meet that night or at that event. And this way it's already on the calendar. It becomes, almost mindless, like, oh, at 2:00 tomorrow, I'm going to follow up with everybody that I met. Now, collecting that information, there's also some stuff that I've done over the years. You can get business cards and have a stack of business cards on your desk, and go into work the next day, go into the office the next day and start following up with people. Or you could, this is my friend Nick Carpenter taught me this, the selfie trick. So something that happens, especially if you meet a lot of people that night, is you forget who is who. So a very easy way, and this is like a little ninja tactic, is take a selfie with everybody and then say, I'm going to send it to you, and shoot them a text with the selfie. And now you have in your phone, if you go through your messages, who's who, and you can kind of tie those conversations to each other. You could also take that selfie and post it on social media and tag them. And now we're kind of using social media as a solidify strategy, where, even if you don't follow up, which you should the next day, or even if nothing comes from that conversation, at least that person maybe follows you back because you posted them on your social, and it makes it that much easier for that person to say, oh, I'm reposting this story, which everybody will do because everybody likes attention. And I'm also going to follow this guy back, right? So I can talk hours and hours and hours about networking events. I think it was important to cover this one early on in the series because it is a tried and true method. It is something that works for a lot of people. It is something that a lot of people already enjoy doing. It's just these small tweaks and maybe doing it on a consistent basis that's going to, move the needle for you in your business. All right, now for the solidify strategy of this video. And this is one, like I said, I'm trying to get all the easy ones and kind of low-hanging fruits out of the way early in the series, and we'll get maybe more creative as we go along. But this one is like, I would say if any of these are a requirement to having a successful business, this is probably it. And wow, it's mind-blowing, but the premise of actually calling your existing referral partners is something that I think every originator, I'll speak for myself, can do better, right? Maybe it's something that you got down pat, and that's amazing because I know you're seeing results from it. I know that that's making a huge positive impact on your business. But if this is something that you lack, or if this is something that maybe you don't have a strategy behind, I hope that this is maybe your sign to take this more seriously, because this isn't a creative idea. This isn't something that I came up with, and it's probably not something that you haven't thought of yourself, but we need to be calling our current referral partners, because here's the thing. If you aren't, somebody else will. The way I look at it is my active relationship or my current referral partners are probably on somebody's actively pursuing list, right? So maybe you've made lists of referral partners before or realtors. Let's just keep it on realtors because it's easier. Maybe you've made lists of realtors before that you wanted to go after, that you wanted to do business with. I bet there's a loan officer in your market that's created their list, and a few of them are your active referral partners. And if we're not calling, how strong can a relationship be if the only time you're talking to that person is about maybe that's something going on with a deal, or they have a client for you, a new client for you? That's the only time you're speaking to this person. And I can tell you from experience that there's been some very good relationships that if I probably just called once every 10 days, once every 15 days, whatever my cadence is, which we'll talk about in a second, that I could have probably kept longer. But because every single conversation that I had with that referral partner or that realtor was just about a new client, it was a new client handoff, or hey, did you get the call to schedule the appraisal? That relationship was never formed. And it's not because, all of this, you got to be really good at your job. You got to answer the phone, know your stuff, and be good at loans. But I probably lost some very good relationships because I didn't touch base with these people. Even though all the loans were closing smoothly and I do know my stuff and they were happy with my service, I didn't connect with them. I didn't follow up with them. And guess what? Somebody else probably did. So maybe this is a little bit of fear that I'm instilling, but it truly is, it's the truth. So make sure that you understand that you need to be touching base with your referral partners. There's a few different methods out there that I've heard. Maybe it's you interact with them on social, you shoot them a text next week, and then give them a call. You create your plan. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'll tell you what I do personally. The first thing that I did was I set up a cadence, right? So I organized my referral partners into a few different statuses, and this is all done in my CRM, which is, technology is going to help with a lot of this, at least staying organized. It's not going to do it for you, but it's going to help you stay organized, which is going to allow you to be better at doing what you need to do. But I organize my referral partners into a few different statuses. One is actively pursuing. One is warm. So these are people that I maybe got a lead. Maybe I sat down with them. Maybe there's hopes to do business in the future, or there's confidence of doing business in the future, but it's just not there yet. And then I have active relationships and VIPs. And let's split those down the middle. You have your actively pursuing and your warm relationships. Those are people that I'm probably going to need to touch base with more frequently than the people that I have an active relationship or that are my VIPs. So what I did was my actively pursuing and my warm relationships, I call every 10 days, and my active relationship and my VIPs, I call every 15. And you'd be amazed on what this will do for you. And just like to go back to what I was saying before, where, ask yourself when. In my calendar, in my calendar weekly, I have 2 times. Once on Thursdays to call my actively pursuing and my warm, and once on Fridays where I call my VIP and active relationships, or active relationships and VIPs. It's already in my calendar. The list is already in my CRM. Try to make these habits as easy as possible. Maybe you're using an Excel spreadsheet right now, whatever works, right? But have some sort of cadence, and have that cadence on your calendar. Now, some people are a little bit more free when they talk about the strategy. Maybe something pops into your head like, I should call Lewis. You can do it right then and there, or maybe you schedule it for the next day and you just schedule an individual call. But I believe, or an individual follow-up. I believe in order to, the whole premise of Solidify is to help you build relationships at scale. And that's the hardest part. Because like I said, after you get to 5, 10 referral partners and they're all kind of sending you a deal here and there, it's hard to maintain those 5 and 10 and deliver excellent service and stay top of mind and stay connected with them, and then continue to build new relationships, which is why this whole series was created, is to tell you how to do both. I think the best way to do this strategy, which is calling your existing referral partners, is have a time where you're dialing a list. Not just one person, not just I should follow up with so-and-so. There should be a block of time, maybe it's an hour, 2 hours, depending on how many referral partners that you have, on a weekly basis, where that time is dedicated to that activity, which is calling and touching base with people. Now, one of the main points of resistance after speaking with many originators and also for myself, sometimes you don't want to call people because you don't know what you're going to say, right? You don't want to be another originator asking them, where's my deals, right? Because let me tell you, that's not the recipe. That's not how you go about it. But at the same time, if I'm going to call these people every 10 days or every 15 or at least once a month, what do I say, right? And my advice here would be, don't overthink it, just call them and see where the conversation goes. But just to give you guys some talking points, I did prepare some things that are easy to kind of bring up. Number one is mutual leads, right? Calling that person. You got to remember, these realtors, let's just stay on realtors for a second. These realtors are giving you leads, and they're putting their livelihood in your hands. And very few loan officers are telling them what happens after that handoff. And it's almost like a slap in the face to them, because they give you this lead, they're trusting you with this check, and they never get a call back about the lead, right? So one very easy low-hanging fruit that they will also appreciate is kind of going through, okay, hey, you sent me so-and-so, this is what happened with that. You sent me so-and-so, this is what happened with that. And you should be doing that ideally after the phone calls happen or right after the handoff happens, but just kind of reiterating that you're on top of it, you're organized, you followed up since then, you gave them, they said this, they said that they want to wait, right? Using this time to kind of brush up on any mutual leads that you have with them is a very easy thing to talk about, and they're also going to appreciate it. The next thing that's very easy to talk about is any active pipeline stuff. So, just to let you know, so-and-so was submitted to underwriting, I don't see any problems with that, or this appraisal just came back, and this is if you have an active pipeline with this particular referral partner. Otherwise, there's other things that you can talk about, but I would also spend some time on that. Another topic that you can bring up, and this is something that is happening on a monthly basis already, and that's maybe you talk about the most current CPI report. Maybe the Fed just decided to hike or raise interest rates or lower interest rates. Using the current economic events is something that I think is very easy to go to, and it's something that they're going to find valuable. This is also great and we'll go into this further in another video, the topic of sending out email blasts and maybe doing a market report. That's a great Solidify strategy. Just to touch on that a little bit, you can use the economic calendar or all the reports that are coming out to not only call about them, but also email about them. And that's something that you can do very easily at scale. So that's another great little talking point instead of saying, where are my deals? The next thing that I would also go over is any upcoming events, networking events. So we talked about using networking events to grow your business. You can also use the networking events that you're going to, and we touched on this, to solidify your business. Invite your current referral partners to the networking events that are coming. Maybe it's a workshop that you're doing. Maybe you're doing a lunch and learn, right? Taking that time that's already blocked out, where you're already making the phone calls and making the most out of it, is going to help you. Another thing that you can talk about is new listings. So, if you're using list reports or MMI or any of these kind of production tracking sort of tools, you'll get alerts when your realtors get listings. Now, even if you're not signed up to any of those services, take a minute before the call, go on Zillow and see if they have any active listings, and talk about that. Hey, do you want to do an open house together? Or, hey, I saw you got that listing. Let me try and plug in some buyers that I may have. How are you doing with that listing? Do you need help cross-qualifying anybody? There's always something to talk about. There's always something to talk about. And even if it's just catching up. Thanksgiving just passed. Ask them what the hell they did for Thanksgiving. Don't think it. And one thing I learned is this business gets a lot more fulfilling when you're actually friends and you care about your referral partners. Because you're in the trenches together. You're going to be in the trenches together. Do these talking points help? Absolutely. And it's better to have them than to not have them. But what's also okay is you just catching up with them. Because at the end of the day, the person who has the most friends in this business makes the most money. And that's true across many, many different industries. And it's been true in my business. A lot of the time when you start something new, and at least for me anyway, I was like, all right, I need to call my referral partners, but it's kind of weird to start doing this because I've never done it before. So you get in your head about like, are they going to find it weird because I've never done this before? What I would do on those initial calls, or what I did, is I got vulnerable with them. I said, listen, like, I've done a very bad job at staying connected with people. And like, yeah, we see each other at events. And yeah, we obviously talk about the files, and I'm always on my phone. You can always get a response from me. But I also think it's important to just touch base with the people that I work with. And you saying that, opening up, being genuine, being vulnerable, saying that you haven't done the best job at it, is a great way to kind of start that behavior, or start them expecting the phone call. I think all in all, between going to networking events and actually calling your damn referral partners, these two things, talk about like, yeah, they're not the most exciting, they're not the most revolutionary, they're not the most creative strategies, but talk about what will move the needle in your business. Those two are really, really at the top of the list. So that's it for this, Grow and Solidify series. I hope you got something out of the Grow strategy. I hope you got something out of the Solidify strategy. And again, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll catch you on the next one.